Hi everyone, this is our next English video, and what I would like you to do is open your English book up to page 277. 277. And when you look at the top of the page, you will see that this lesson is called Subordinating Conjunctions. Okay, so here's some basic definitions for you. A clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. And there are two kinds of clauses. The first kind of clause is called an independent clause. It's a complete thought, so it can stand alone as a sentence. So we could say that independent clause and sentence are synonyms. They mean the same thing. Then we have a dependent clause. A dependent clause does not have a complete thought, so it cannot stand alone as a sentence. And these can be tricky to catch. And sometimes when people write, they will write a dependent clause and then put a period at the end and think that they have written a complete sentence when they actually have not. A dependent clause always begins with a subordinating conjunction. Here is an example. Because it was hot outside. This is a dependent clause. It has a subject, it, has a linking verb, was, but it's not a complete sentence. It's dependent. The word dependent means you need someone else. You're dependent on something. So this clause is dependent. It cannot stand by itself. Because it was hot outside. Now, we don't know the answer to that. Because it was hot outside, what? That's why this is a dependent clause. And because is in red to show you that this is a subordinating conjunction. Here's another one. Although I was really tired. It has a subject and verb. I was. But it is dependent. It cannot stand alone. It is not a complete sentence. Although I was really tired. You don't know what happened, although I was really tired. So, these are dependent clauses, and they start with a subordinating conjunction. Okay. A subordinating conjunction joins a dependent clause to an independent clause to form a complete sentence. A dependent clause can come first in the sentence, or it can come at the end of the sentence. Here's an example of a dependent clause that comes first in a sentence. Although I was really tired, comma, I studied for 2 hours. See how this dependent clause gets connected to an independent clause. An independent clause becomes a dependent clause if a subordinating conjunction is added to the beginning. Here are some examples of dependent clauses. Because the weather was stormy. Because is the subordinating conjunction. Unless I finish this before bedtime. Dependent clause. Unless is the subordinating conjunction it starts with. Until the next project is due. Until is a subordinating conjunction. Where we will be going on vacation. Where is the subordinating conjunction. If you are a Christian. If is the subordinating conjunction. All right, and then this slide has all of the subordinating conjunctions printed out for you so you can see them. I attached a worksheet to the lesson that has these printed out, that has these on the page. So you can print it out, you can use it, okay? After, although, as, because, before, if, since, though, unless, until, when, whenever, where, wherever, while. When you see these at the beginning of a group of words, you're looking at a dependent clause. Okay, look at the guided practice at the bottom of page 277. The directions for the first section say, Circle the subordinating conjunction in each sentence. So that's one of the reasons I had you print it out. So when you do your LMS and circle and you find subordinating conjunctions, you have a list to look at. Then you're going to write an I if the underlying clause is independent. It means the same thing as write an I if the underlying clause is a complete sentence. An independent clause is a synonym for a complete sentence. If the underlined clause is dependent, you're going to put a D in the blank. And it's very easy to tell if it's dependent. If it's dependent, it's going to have one of the subordinating conjunctions at the beginning of it. Okay, so it would be pretty easy to tell the difference. All right, let's look at number 1, and you're following along with me and filling in your book. Although the Taj Mahal seems like a palace, it is a great tomb. So first of all, you're going to circle the subordinating conjunction. If you look at that list, you should be able to find the subordinating conjunction. It is although. The second direction is to look at the underlying clause and say, is it independent, a complete sentence, or is it dependent? Starts with a subordinating conjunction. So it's pretty easy here to figure it out. Although the Taj Mahal seems like a palace. This is a dependent clause because it begins with a subordinating conjunction and it is not a complete thought. Number 2, when Emperor Shah Jahan's wife died, he built a magnificent building for her tomb. First, we need to find the subordinating conjunction. So look at your list and find that conjunction and circle it. Okay, it's when. Now we need to look at the underlined words. He built a magnificent building for her tomb. We have to tell if this is independent or dependent. Now, when you look at this, you can see that it is a complete sentence. He built. There's the subject and verb. There is no subordinating conjunction here. So this is I, an independent clause. And remember, independent clause equals complete sentence. Okay, don't let independent clause confuse you. All it means is it's a sentence. Okay? Number 3, the emperor wanted everyone to remember his wife because he loved her so much. Look at the sentence and find the subordinating conjunction. Use the list to help you. Okay, it's because. Now look at the underlined clause. The emperor wanted everyone to remember his wife. When we look at it, we see there is no subordinating conjunction at the beginning. The emperor wanted everyone to remember his wife is a complete thought. This is an independent clause. Number 4, she was buried in a nearby garden until the tomb was completed 22 years later. All right, we first identify the subordinating conjunction. Use your list. Until. And then we look at the underlined words. Until the tomb was completed 22 years later. When we look at the beginning of this underlined section, we see a subordinating conjunction. And we see that this is dependent, doesn't express a complete thought on its own. Until the tomb was completed 22 years later is a dependent clause. And seeing that subordinating conjunction at the beginning is your clue that it's a dependent clause. Number 5, before building could begin, talented architects made plans for the tomb. You're going to find your subordinating conjunction again. Before, look at the underlined group of words. Before building could begin, starts with a subordinating conjunction, is not a complete thought, so it is a dependent clause. Now, for number 6 and 7, the directions say, use a subordinating conjunction to combine the sentences. Add a comma when necessary. So for number 6, we have, the tomb was being built, 20,000 people worked on it. So you're going to try to think of a way to combine these two sentences using a subordinating conjunction. So go ahead and look at that. Look at your subordinating conjunctions. And you should write something like this. There's a couple of choices. While the tomb was being built, 20,000 people worked on it. As the tomb was being built, 20,000 people worked on it. Or you could say when the tomb was being built, 20,000 people worked on it. Notice there's a comma after built because you're separating the dependent clause from the rest of the sentence. Okay? Yeah, give you a moment to write that down. Okay, number 7, same thing. We're going to combine the two sentences using a subordinating conjunction, and a comma if necessary. The emperor was buried in the Taj Mahal. His wife was buried there. Okay, so we know his wife was buried there first. So that might help us with writing this sentence. The emperor was buried in the Taj Mahal after his wife was buried there. She died first. Or you could have put, the emperor was buried in the Taj Mahal because his wife was buried there. Either of those would make sense. And you do not need a comma for this because the independent clause came first. All right, you are now going to look at the next page of the independent practice, page 278 at the top. All right, same directions as guided practice. Circle the subordinating conjunction in each sentence. Write I if the underlying clause is independent. Remember, independent clause equals complete sentence. Write D if the underlying clause is dependent, cannot stand by itself, needs more information. Number 1, if you travel overseas, you will need a passport. Okay, look for the subordinating conjunction. It is if. Look at the underlined words. If you travel overseas. It starts with a subordinating conjunction. It is not a complete thought. It cannot stand on its own, so it is a dependent clause. Number 2, you can go by plane unless you prefer a long boat trip. Find the subordinating conjunction and circle it. Refer to your list as needed. Unless. Look at the group of words that is underlined. You can go by plane. We see that it does not start with a subordinating conjunction, and this could be a sentence all by itself. You can go by plane. That's an independent clause. Number 3, while getting there is easy, finding your way around a foreign country is difficult. Find the subordinating conjunction. While, look at the underlined words. Finding your way around a foreign country is difficult. There is no subordinating conjunction here. This can stand by itself as a sentence, so it is independent, an independent clause. Number 4, a taxi driver can take you where you want to go. Find the subordinating conjunction. Refer to your list as needed. Where? Look at the group of words. Where you want to go. And it starts with a subordinating conjunction. It cannot stand by itself, so it is a dependent clause. Number 5, although traveling is a lot of fun, it can be very tiring. Find the subordinating conjunction. Hopefully this is getting a little easier at this point. The subordinating conjunction is although. Look at the underlined words. Although traveling is a lot of fun. So, it starts with a subordinating conjunction. It cannot stand alone as a sentence, so it is dependent. Number 6, you should avoid visiting Agra in the hot season because it is sometimes over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Find the subordinating conjunction. Because, look at the underlined words. Because it is sometimes over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, starts with the subordinating conjunction, cannot stand alone, so it is dependent. Number 7, visit other monuments in Agra after you visit the Taj Mahal. Find the subordinating conjunction. After. Look at the underlined words. Visit other monuments in Agra. There is no subordinating conjunction at the beginning, and it could stand alone as a sentence, so it is independent. Numbers 8 through 10 say, use a subordinating conjunction to combine the sentences. Add a comma when necessary. Remember, if the dependent clause comes first, the one with the subordinating conjunction, you need a comma. If the independent clause comes first, you do not need a comma. So we're going to look at number 8. It says, we drive from Delhi to Agra. We will visit the Taj Mahal. So you're going to look at your subordinating conjunction. Might be a little tricky. And try to combine the sentences. It has something like this. There are several choices you could make. After we drive from Delhi to Agra, we will visit the Taj Mahal. As we drive from Delhi to Agra, we will visit the Taj Mahal. You can also use when we drive from Delhi to Agra, we will visit the Taj Mahal, or while we drive from Delhi to Agra, we will visit the Taj Mahal. These are all good choices that you could use. Notice there's a comma here because the dependent clause with the subordinating conjunction came first. Okay, number 9. You must take off your shoes. You enter the Taj Mahal. Okay, so there's a couple of choices here too. You must take your shoes off before you enter the Taj Mahal, as you enter the Taj Mahal, or if you enter the Taj Mahal. Any of these would make sense. And you don't need a comma because the independent clause comes first, so we don't need a comma. And number 10 says, in some pictures, the Taj Mahal is floating in the air. It really is sitting on a base of red sandstone. Okay. Again, several choices would make sense. Although, in some pictures, the Taj Mahal is floating in the air, it's really sitting on a base of red sandstone. While, in some pictures, the Taj Mahal is floating in the air, it really is sitting on a base of red sandstone. Or though in some pictures the Taj Mahal is floating in the air, it really is sitting on a base of red sandstone. So any of these would make sense to use, and then you have to have a comma after the dependent clause because the dependent clause came first. Okay, now here's your assignment. The first thing I want you to do is, if you haven't done it yet, print out the subordinating conjunction chart that I attached to this lesson. Then you're going to complete the LMS quiz. I'm going to ask you to find subordinating conjunctions like we did today. And then I'm going to ask you to look at some clauses and tell me, is it independent? Remember, independent means it's a sentence. It can stand alone. It does not have a subordinating conjunction. Or is the clause dependent? It cannot stand by itself. It needs more information, and it starts with a subordinating conjunction. So that's the difference between the two. And in this LMS quiz, I'll be able to see whether you understand the concept that we worked on today. So don't forget to print out that list to help you so you have easy reference to the subordinating conjunctions. All right, that is all for today, and I'll see you for our next English lesson.